psychoanalysis, there's an interesting thing where you have to have obstacles. So the person that you get is not necessarily one you want. You want the person who you can't get. The term making love actually used to be about this. Two people don't make love. You have a third person who makes love, and that's a chaperone. A chauffeur drives your car. A chaperone gets in the middle of two people
and prevents a barrier from them getting together.
Exactly, because you think that the chaperone is there to stop you from doing anything untoward, but actually they're there to start getting you to fantasize about what you could do if only they weren't there to stop it.
They're creating tension.
So they were making love. They were creating desire. Wow. So in terms of like dating apps and stuff, it's often when you talked about the things that work, you realize sometimes it's the person I didn't choose, but then I bumped into them at an event, or something has to get in the way to generate desire. So,
that's fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Okay, so that actually makes sense. Why? Or maybe the people on the show who have like love triangles, and then they lose the person temporarily, and then get them back, and all
love
that kind
triangles
of stuff.
are key. Like there's there's certain people who, this is very typical for a guy. Often guys can only desire what they don't have. So they're with somebody and then they start desiring someone else. And often women, although it's not completely gendered, but it's just more typical, often desire what's about to be taken away from them. So in a love triangle, you get a couple, maybe there's no desire. And then the guy starts to go out with, have an affair with somebody, and then it's found out. And you think they're going to split up because the woman's really pissed off. The man says, well, listen, the relationship's dead. But then what happens is a week later, they're back together again. There's desire in the relationship. They hate each other, but they're like, they can't keep their hands off each other. And it's partly because the man was desiring this woman because she was impossible. As soon as the obstacle was taken away, he's like, I don't want to go out with her. She's crazy. And the woman, as soon as her partner's starting to be under threat to being taken away, she starts to go, oh, actually, maybe I want him. I'm going to. And so love triangles are this very dysfunctional way for people to keep desire alive.
So you're saying our listeners, if they're having issues, should make their partner jealous in order to have an affair in order to bring things back together.
That's right.
Got it. I love this. I love this takeaway.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Actually, it's kind of funny because my boyfriend yesterday told me he had this dream, and he was like, I had a great dream last night. We were like at this camp or something, and but we had never gotten together, and you weren't into me, and his whole dream was about him trying to catch me alone.
That's very good. That's very interesting.
And I was like, did you end up like hooking up with me? And he was like, no, you always had something to do, and we're always tired and like whatever, and I never got to have my moment with you. And he like thought that dream was great.
That's interesting because dreams are the site of truth. The funny thing is our waking life is really our dream life. That's the fake life. That's where we pretend we're all together and everything's fine. And sometimes we have to wake up in order to dream. You have a nightmare that's so close to your truth that you have to wake up in order to distance yourself from your truth. So in your dreams, that's why in analysis, you listen to your dreams because your dreams tell you deep truth that you can't see in your waking life, because your waking life is your Facebook profile. It's your carefully curated, I'm fine presentation. But in your dreams and your nightmares, you encounter your desires and fears and all of that. So in a way, actually, a love triangle isn't a problem, it's the solution to a problem. Just like alcoholism isn't the problem, it's the solution to a problem. But it's a solution that creates its own problems. So when you see someone in a love triangle, think about what is the problem that is trying to solve. And it's the problem of desire. It's a problem of how to desire the other. In fact, some people are jealous, not because they love because they're jealous, i.e., the only way they can keep their love alive is to be jealous. So, so these are, but this is not what we're here to talk about. But desire is a fascinating subject. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. We definitely need to do a Bachelor analysis episode with you.
For real. But then I'm also wondering, so what are the healthy alternatives to solve these problems versus...
Yeah, but this is interesting because one of the healthy ways potentially is how do you create barriers within your relationship? How do you create deadlocks, impossibilities, and antagonisms within a couple?
To keep passion alive without going and cheating on your spouse, etc.
Exactly. Because if you don't create an internal deadlock, you'll create an external deadlock. And then that causes problems. You see it all the time in people who, if they can't basically you want this perfect relationship because there's a fantasy of we can complete each other. Like, those little necklaces where they're like two hearts split,
Right,
and you kind
yeah.
of connect. I'm trying to make one where it's a heart split into two, but they don't fit together. So you can, because that's the better thing, is like we want to complete each other, but that's actually death. It's so boring. It gets rid of the contradictions of life. So then what you find is a person will, in order to bring antagonism back, they'll do stuff externally. So the trick is, how do you create struggle within your relationship?
So maybe like a healthy alternative would be like having hobbies and a career and friends and all these sort of things that like you have things to do and you don't have time to spend with this person all the time.
Yes, and even like gameplay, even kind of like go away for a month and say you're not coming with me, or create obstacles within the relationship.
Be like, I'm going to Europe for a month. Bye.
I swear to God, it's going to help our relationship. This is for you, really.
This is for you. I'm being very selfless.
Wait, but if I'm thinking about Bachelor stuff, this is reminding me of Dean and Kaylin. Remember how I said they're going to last?
Yeah.
This is my prediction. It's this couple that was on The Bachelor. And he is just very much like this traveler who never really wanted to commit. And she's kind of like, I would say she's like a romantic who like wants him, but it seems like he's always sort of unavailable. And they ended up getting together. And I said on past episodes, I'm like, I think they're going to stay together the longest out of everyone on this season because there's like this dynamic of like always being one step away from each other in a way.
That's right. Have you ever seen The Bridges of Madison County or read the book? Yeah. It's beautiful. And it's a beautiful description of this, because the woman she's a bored housewife with a nice but kind of boring husband, and then this really cool photographer, as you know, comes into town, Clint Eastwood, and he is trouble, right? And he's like this impossibility but represents an escape from middle America, escape from her family, escape from everything. But she's caught in an impossible scenario. Does she stay with the boring relationship, or does she go off with the exciting guy, which we all know would be a disaster because they would never work out. He's been single all his life. He's just too crazy. And so the movie actually, it ends in a romantic way, but not with an expression of the truth. And the romantic thing is that she stays with her husband, but always fantasizes about him, and eventually they're buried together, or their ashes are scattered at the bridges of Madison County. So it's very beautiful.
Wow.
But it captures the dilemma that many of us face in desire, which is you feel this pull between the boring and safe and the adventurous and exciting. And either way, you feel you're going to make a mistake. So, you go away with the exciting, it's going to be a disaster. You stay with the boring, you're going to be living dead. And the question is, how do you bring those two things into your relationship in a way in which it is exciting and dangerous and also stable and enriching?